And now, live in studio, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Yes, here we are again another day, committed to being your consumer advocate, all about helping you understand your buying decisions. The Consumer Quarterback Show here. Save our hotline number in your phone. At some point, you may need it. We've had an uptick in calls lately, and we greatly appreciate all those that are reaching out to the hotline. 813-750-0550. 813-750-0550.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
ConsumerQB.com, and you know what we want to do is help you win.
The only thing I'm addicted to right now is winning.
ConsumerQB.com. You can see links there to all of our expert contributors. Got a great lineup for you today on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Want to thank one of our newer sponsors. This is Jade's Premium Quality Cleaning. They do a great job cleaning our real estate properties. Shout out to Jade's Premium Quality Cleaning. It's a local-owned business, a woman-owned business right here. Also, COVID-19 certified for infection prevention and control. Follow them on Facebook at Jade's Premium Quality Cleaning on Facebook, and they offer a $15 off for any of our radio and TV show family listeners out there or viewers of our TV show. Thanks so much for supporting our show partners. A couple of hot listings here. 2528 Appaloosa Trail, Palm Harbor, beautiful property right here in Tampa Bay. We've got a great listing in Palm Harbor, Florida, in Tampa Bay at Appaloosa Trail, 2528 Appaloosa Trail, Palm Harbor. Also, 6128 Oak Ridge Avenue in Newport Richey. This is a property that is right on the riverfront. You've got bay access from Newport Richey, large estate-style home, and this property is on almost an acre of land, almost 1 full acre of land. Waterfront with a boat dock, bay access, gorgeous property. Check out all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. All right, we got a great lineup for you today. We got Kevin Overstreet back in studio, Property Prequal. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Give us a little teaser what you want to talk about today, my friend.
The biggest problem in real estate is the transaction is done relatively backwards. And if you think about the buyers, they come to a house, they love the house, then due diligence starts.
Right.
And that's when everything's discovered. So we're replacing due diligence with done diligence.
Yeah.
Where when they come to the house, the only question they have left is, do we want to live here?
Nice.
Instead of starting with that, they finish with that.
I love that. That's such a great idea. I'm really excited to hear more about that. Kevin Overstreet on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Also, our friend Fred Muth, Tampa, Screens and Aluminum. Welcome back, Fred.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad to be on the show. Things are just rocking and rolling out there in the screen enclosure business as well as the real estate business. You would know, Brandon.
That's right. You know, inventory is super low. We've got a 1.92 month supply of inventory, strong seller's market in Pinellas County, and it feels like new construction needs to kick it up. There's so many people moving down.
That's a fact. You know, I'm learning, obviously I sell a lot of patios and screen enclosures because people are home looking out in their backyard. They're saying, let's make a change. We need to make a change around the house. So, you know, they call Tampa Screens because they want an enclosure. I've also had customers call me and say, hey, listen, we're thinking about moving. We're tired of being in this house. You know, by chance, you know a good realtor, and that's when your name comes up, Brandon.
Nice, I appreciate that.
No, but they are. They're at the house. They're stir crazy, and that, you know, unfortunately, I'm sorry to hear that, but it really tends to add to a lot of value to our business and yours as well.
Yeah, it really does. And I think there's a lot of factors on why. You know, you got the highest taxes in the country out in California, and they keep adding more taxes, a wealth tax just recently they're adding. And you've got New York, New Jersey, Ohio, a lot of the high tax states, Illinois. People are wanting to get out of those places. They're like, hey, give me some normalcy. I want to keep my money. And by the way, we live in paradise.
Absolutely. And I'm embarrassed in some cases to tell my friends from the Northeast what I pay in taxes or basically don't pay in taxes. It is unbelievable. I still own a rental property in New Jersey, and what I pay on that rental property in taxes is beyond what loan sharks charge.
Yeah, I bet it is. It's unbelievable, man. And you see what's the what's the future hold? I think it's just even more investment in Tampa Bay, and you see the politicians seem to be doing a pretty good job in terms of transportation is one of the areas that we need to improve on as one of the biggest factors that we see because the roads are getting clogged up.
Well, yeah, and we still have plenty of space out there. In other words, the interstates can still be widened in a lot of cases, which is great because there's a lot of available ground to do that. And this president that's in there now, I think he was a big contribution to a lot of the infrastructure improvements. Not that I'm becoming political, but yeah. I have seen that. I've seen a lot of infrastructure go in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking with Fred Muth, Tampa Screens and Aluminum, longtime friend of the Consumer Quarterback Show. And Fred, you've bumped into some of our radio show family out there, haven't you, out in job sites and things of that nature?
I sure have. Ray Hall and I, we did business together, and Chuck Peterson, we share a lot of work. I mean, I pass his name and number out quite often. Of course, Freddie D. Felice, him and I go back, I think, about 18, 20 years, Freddie D. Felice and I. Connor Keller, he was Insect IQ. I don't know if he's still part of it, but him and I go back about another 15 years. We still do a lot of business together. There's a bunch of us, and that's the nicest thing about a marketing group is you get to know the people that you can refer the business to. Because one thing in business, especially the construction business, buyer beware, because you don't know who you are dealing with until you get into it with them, get into a contract or even further. And it's nice to know that whoever you're dealing with was highly referred by a coworker or another contractor that you're working with. That's the best business down here. When I got involved with everything I did, coming from the Northeast, I come down here and every contractor, every service that I ever hired out, I made sure that they were referred by somebody who had used them in the past. Because, when I came down here years ago, there was a lot of shysters out there. How to be careful.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. You find out, some people find out the hard way. We've talked about different things that Chuck Peterson's seen after a storm. What are some of your top tips when it comes to protecting the consumer out there?
Well, I always tell the consumer, and of course, this is like a broken record with me, and I'm a representative of the company. I don't own the company. I basically design and sell the product. And I stress to the customer, please continue to ask questions throughout the process. Call me at any time. You can be redundant with the questions. It's irrelevant to me. I'd rather have you ask the questions before the job is built than after the job is completed. Then the questions begin. Because at that point, then it's a problematic situation. I know a lot of other representatives in this industry that, they're not really willing to take a lot of questions from consumers. But I put myself in the consumer's shoes and I say, if I don't know anything about a screen enclosure, I want to know everything about the screen enclosure before I sign on the dotted line. So I encourage people to ask questions, and every representative in this industry should be ready, willing, and able to answer any questions that is asked by the consumer. The one that I ask them not to ask me after I sign it up is when, because when is not something I could always give an answer to, because we are really running into the when problem right now, permitting and this and that and the other. So that's not a question that I really like because I don't know how to answer it.
Yeah, I get that. We've talked with different county commissioners on the show and folks, other builders, and it seems to be a challenge. Is it getting a little bit better out there, Fred?
Well, I'll tell you what, I just received an email from the people at Hillsborough County today, because I'm doing a project at my house trying to get some permitting going myself. And they were very quick to respond by email, and they did specifically tell me that they are going to a completely online system. They're in the middle of a transition to an online system. So it's this transition period right now that is creating problems, because it's going from one method of doing business to a completely new method of doing business, and it is becoming more time consuming. And I'm assuming that this will totally improve the timing process once they go to the entire online process. I'm hoping it will.
Yeah, it seems like there's ways to streamline it, especially using technology. You see technology coming through in a lot of other areas in life and business and, health and nutrition, so many different ways. We're talking with Fred Muth here, Tampa Screens and Aluminum, and talk about your patio, lanai, outdoor space, your pools, cages. He can help you with all of those, does a great job. has a very educational process when it comes to, educating your clients.
Yeah, you have to educate them. That's all part of the process. And these are screen enclosures. I'm not designing and selling bridges. It's a fairly basic, simple structure. There are changes in the industry from time to time. There's engineering changes. And, when we're made aware of them, we always like to make the customer aware of these engineering changes, because people will say to me, why do I need a 7-inch gutter when I have a 5 and it works well? Well, basically the 7 came out, it surpassed the 5, and now the engineering says the 7's a better gutter, so we like to offer that. This is just a minor issue.
Right.
And the panoramic view product is the hottest thing out there right now on the screen enclosure, the pool screens, where the backdrop can be many less uprights that won't block your vision. Where I'm bidding one right now, it's 74 feet across. Right now, there's 10 openings. So we're going to take that cage down if I get the job, and we're going to go back to a cage with 3 openings on the back.
Wow.
And he backs up to a lake. And it's just so much better. 10 years ago, this product was not available. But the engineering's out there now, and it is available, and it works like a charm.
I love it. Fred Muth, Tampa Screens and Aluminum. More from Fred coming up in our lightning round. Coming up next, we've got Kevin Overstreet here, Property Prequal. We've got attorney Jason Kobal in the house as well. And we're going to hear from Fred Muth in our lightning round as well. Fred, thanks so much. We'll be right back here after this short message. Also, teacher transforms desk into socially distanced trucks. Find out about this creative teacher right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, knock out your competition.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes here. I'm your host of the Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. We're a top 1% ranked real estate team here in Tampa Bay, helping you buying, selling, or investing. We would love to talk to you. A couple of hot listings. We're going to feature your listings on our program as well. We got a couple of great opportunities here in Tampa Bay. 8001 U.S. Highway 301 South in Riverview. This is the Riverview Sandwich Shop, kind of a institution around that East Hillsborough County, Riverview area. 8001 U.S. Highway 301 South in Riverview. The Riverview Sandwich Shop is for sale, listed around $800,000. 2 commercial buildings actually on the same parcel of land. Great opportunity to own real estate and operate a restaurant if you'd like. It's all set up for a restaurant. Makes sense to me. Also, 12208 Four Oaks Road in Tampa. This is 12208 Four Oaks Road in Tampa. You've got 5 acres in the heart of Tampa Bay, close to Del Mabry, and this is a prime development opportunity. 5 acres MOL with 9 units per acre, so you get about 40 units or so on that property. Check out all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. And this segment is brought to you by Brothers Easy Moving, the official moving partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Whether you're planning a local or long-distance move, Brothers Easy Moving is the best in the business. Reach out, let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. Brothers Easy Moving, the official moving partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. All right, so we're back here in studio. We've got Kevin Overstreet, Property Prequal, back in the house. Now, Kevin, is anybody else involved in the transaction an owner and Property Prequal?
No, and that's one of the key points, really. I'm glad you asked. So Property Prequal is a company, and it's independent from everyone else. Okay. No real estate company or real estate agent or broker is involved, no mortgage company or anything like that. So that's really one of the most important components of Property Prequal, which is no one in the transaction can affect or influence anything that's reported by our work. And a simple way to think of what PPQ is, that's what we call it, is it's a Carfax report for used homes. Okay. And before Carfax was around, it was very much, as Fred said, buyer beware. Yeah. When you buy a used car, well, when you buy a used home, it's very much that as well. And you've been in real estate forever, and you do a ton of business. I've been in title I'm in my 23rd year. Nice. And we see so many cancellations after contract that it's just mind blowing. Yeah. And what we do with PPQ is eliminate most of those, nearly all of them. Wow. And we create an environment inside each transaction where even if different people involved between agents and buyer and seller or whoever, even if they're crooks and they want to rip the other side off, which we've all seen, yep, we make it where they can't. And like I said, it's done diligence. So due diligence shouldn't happen. It should already be done before the buyer comes along. Good point. And if you think of in the real estate world, when you hear pre-qualified, you think of the buyer getting pre-qualified for a mortgage. Right. So imagine if that wasn't a thing and buyer's agents would take buyers to look at 30 different homes, find one they love, put it under contract, and then not be able to get a mortgage. Yeah, exactly. Not even close. So no one does that. Any smart buyer's agent is going to not waste their time with someone who isn't pre-qualified, but also they need to be pre-qualified for the seller to accept the offer. Right. But what's crazy is no one pre-qualifies the property. Right. And the seller is selling one property, and without it being pre-qualified, there's all of these landmines just waiting to blow up and kill the deal. And if he loses a buyer, there's a lot more buyers. What's an example of some of those landmines that you find? We've all heard it. Inspection killed the deal. Yep. This can't close because of title. Oh no, they're in a flood zone. That makes it not lendable. Yep. Or this is a condo that we can't do an FHA loan on, or something like that. Yep. And of course, all of these happen after a contract, because there's not a deal until there's a contract. And when that cancellation happens, as the title company that's typically holding the earnest money, yep, we'll get a cancellation from one side, the buyer or the seller, saying, give us the money. Like, well, it has to be signed by both sides. Yep. And that becomes very emotional for people sometimes. Oh, yeah. They're right. They both know they're right. Yep. And I basically say, look, if you go to court, you're losing, even if you win. Yep. And they're both tied up. They're both still in a contract. And it's such a negative thing for everyone. Yeah, it is. And with PPQ, everything's disclosed. This is full transparency of everything. And there's not all of those things that I just listed, and municipal lien search problems and things like that with permitting and code. Those are all figured out long before there's a buyer, long before there's earnest money to fight over. And then
Yeah.
then the buyer comes along, and it's like I mentioned in the beginning, the only question they should have left is, do we want to live here?
Right.
Walk into the house, we don't like the kitchen, we're out. Okay, cool. Find another one that's pre-qualified, and it's still the same thing. Instead of, we love it. And as we all know, when people go under contract as buyers, they've already moved in their minds.
Yeah.
And they're thinking about where they're going shopping, where the kids are going to go to school, and what the neighbors are like and all of that. So it becomes their home long before it is.
Yeah.
Then the surprises happen, and then the fights start, renegotiations, all of this. And if you look at the amount of work that someone like you, a listing agent, does on a property, and the amount of effort that the sellers often take or make in order to get the property physically good and attractive and all of that, curb appeal, but
professional photography, all the different things.
So you're spending money, the seller's spending money, and then maybe 2 owners ago had a code enforcement violation that's been $50 a day ever since, and there's a $90,000 lien on it or something like that, which can be almost always negotiated to zero, but it takes time. And when is their time? Prior to contract.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you look at some of the scrutiny that some counties have had, some cities have had, I think it was Dunedin that was in the papers, in the press and Facebook for a while back. They had a gentleman that was out of state. His mother died, something like that. He went up north, but they were fining him, like you said, $100 a day. And it was like, attorneys were getting involved, and it ended up being multiple thousands of dollars. And it was like, why didn't you pay the $100 to somebody and just send him over there to cut his grass?
Yeah, right.
That would have been the easy solution, right?
Yeah, in a neighborhood I used to live in Tampa, there was a guy with a blue driveway, and he was accruing $100 a day. He said, I'll never move, so I don't care. But if he needs to sell, or when his heirs need to sell or something like that, they have to cure the problem and then hope that the code enforcement will reduce it or eliminate the fine. But they don't have to.
That's not a good strategy to say never or always. Or you can never really say never and all that.
Never say never, for sure.
Especially in real estate, right, Kevin?
Absolutely.
So 23 years in business, what's some of the biggest takeaways that you've had? Very successful, multiple companies. We talked about your other title update business. What's some of the top success strategies that you've learned over the years as a successful entrepreneur?
The biggest one is to be different. So I heard this from a professor when I was in college in a marketing class, and he said, the keys to success are to be one of the following 3 things: either first at something, or best at something, or different.
Yeah.
It's hard to be first at something. PPQ is first. So are a couple of other efforts that we're working on, but they're also best for now, but who knows what kind of bells and whistles some copycats will have.
Yep.
But the biggest thing for me has always been just to be different.
Yep.
I could have a multi-state big title agency by now, but I don't, because I see problems in the
expansion model,
in the transaction.
On the transaction.
When I see problems when anybody sees problems in their industry or in their business, whatever that is, they typically try to manage them better than everyone else.
Right.
And that's smart, and that's how you succeed and rise above the others somewhat. But I look at it and I say, let's fix them. And that's what PPQ is. That's what Property Firewall is. We've rebranded Fraud Shine State because having the word fraud in it's a little
interesting,
little negative to throw at people. We've learned that, but
it's catchy though.
Yeah, it is. It's still
the book. Is the book still called Fraud Shine State?
Yeah, and it's going to be a book series, and you could write a volumes of rooms full of books about fraud in Florida.
What's some of the biggest fraud cases too? We talked about Matt Cox. We had Matthew Cox on the show, but wasn't there another one over in Pinellas County where it was the condo? He was doing something with condos, manipulating the title. What you've seen some pretty crazy fraud. We got about a minute left.
They're everywhere.
Yeah,
the fraud that happens in public records is out of control. And what's really not funny but ironic about Matt, the gentleman you mentioned, is he was not charged with title fraud. He was charged with mortgage fraud and these other things. But everything he did started with title fraud. So it's an unknown thing that everyone is susceptible to if you own a property.
Right.
And that's another company that we've developed in order to fix that. But I'm really excited about PPQ. It is we've got a meeting coming up, a Zoom meeting on Friday the 28th at 1 p.m. And this is open to anyone, particularly realtors, of course, and also title companies. We've we are not using any specific title company, not mine or
You're
anyone.
partnering with other title companies.
No, it's just open. So when you place
it's open.
Yeah,
Got
when
it.
you place the order for the PPQ as the listing agent, you'll say who the title company is going to be. I cannot touch that property.
Right.
My title company. We just use mine for the initial development for the last couple of years, and
All right.
we're here to help.
Good stuff. Hey, great stuff. Always a good time talking with you, Kevin. Kevin Overstreet, Property Prequal on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Coming up, attorney Jason Kobal in the house. Attorney Jason Kobal. We're going to talk about personal injury law, workers' comp, as well as our feel-good story of the day. Teacher transformed desk into socially distanced trucks. Creative teacher here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. For more information, go to consumerqb.com.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes here, your host of the Consumer Quarterback Show, helping our sellers profit more on the sale of their real estate properties. Number one, top 1% ranked real estate team here in Tampa Bay. We feature your real estate listings live on air on our syndicated show on over 85 different outlets worldwide. 422 Wildwood Way in Bel Air. This is a gorgeous 2-story home, beautiful property right in Pinellas County, Bel Air, Florida, surrounded by top-notch golf, multiple pro-style golf courses, 10 minutes to the beach, just minutes to the beach. Great opportunity to own real estate here in Tampa Bay. Attention builders, developers, investors, entrepreneurs, 4214 Peaceful Lane in Land O'Lakes. This is a great buying opportunity in Land O'Lakes. 8 lots, pre-developed, ready to go, 5 of which are right on the waterfront, 90-acre ski lake. We know the market's hot. This is a great time to build. Check out all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. Giving a big shout out to Discovery Golf Carts, aka Golf Cart Depot. Make sure you let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. You can test drive one today. How cool is this? Now they'll deliver the golf cart directly to your home or office and let you test drive at your work or your home. They've got the Easy Go, Star EV, Cushman, Icon electric vehicles, pre-owned, remanufactured as well. Check out all of their inventory at golfcartdepot.com. And make sure you let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. Take them up on those special offers and incentives just by mentioning that you're a fan of the Consumer Quarterback Show. All right, we got attorney Jason Kobal in the house. Kobal Law. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Brandon. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, man, good stuff. Always nice having you in. And personal injury law, work comp law. You talk about fair debt practices and different procedures. And, of course, COVID-19 has now thrown a wrench into a lot of different things. Tell us about some of your recent cases.
Oh, boy, I tell you, I had a recent experience, and it was crazy. But as soon as it happened, I said, boy, I got to talk about that on the show. Because, these days with the COVID, everything is by Zoom.
Yeah.
And I had a mediation. I'm not going to get into the names. I can't. What happens at mediation is confidential. But I could talk about the basic circumstances, which are kind of funny, but not funny.
Yeah.
This particular this mediation was done by Zoom. And usually with Zoom, there's video.
Yep.
But it was Zoom, just audio, which I thought I'm like, well, let's just call it a phone conference. But
yeah,
at any rate, couldn't see, which is relevant to the story. But at any rate, long story short, when a mediator breaks into caucus, when you're done, when you all meet together, you give opening statements, and then you go your separate ways. Anything that you say to that mediator is confidential. And then, if you want to give them permission to say something, that's fine. But long story short, my client and I gave our opening statement. The other side gave theirs. We go our separate ways. I hang up the phone. The mediator was under the impression that my client hung up the phone, but she didn't. And she's still on the phone, unbeknownst to the mediator and the defense attorney, who just said some really stupid things.
Who did? Your client?
No, my client was listening. Unbeknownst to them. And I don't blame her. No one told her to get off the phone. She was just sitting there listening.
Right.
And the mediator said some really stupid things. And the defense attorney said some stupid things. The next thing you know, I have an irate client, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Because I didn't know what happened until after the fact.
Out of your control.
Yeah. And then I found out what happened. Of course, the client's not upset with me. He was upset with the mediator and the defense attorney, which under normal circumstances, non-COVID, that's impossible. Because then it would have been in person, and that's impossible for that to happen. But that just goes to show that there's flaws in the setup that they have now that they probably didn't foresee, but they're out there.
Wow.
And that was one of them.
What kind of case was it? Was it
it was workers
accident?
It was workers comp. Yeah, it was workers comp, and it's a shame it happened. And hopefully we'll all be able to get by after this. But as soon as it happened, I'm like, oh, I want to bring that up because that's definitely a Zoom situation that went awry.
Zoom.
Yeah, I'm over it. I'm ready to go back to normal.
Did you buy any Zoom stock?
No, I should have. I know. I don't know what I was thinking.
Back in March?
Yep.
That would have been
stock,
a good
mask stock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're talking with attorney Jason Kobal here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, legal analyst on the program. And what else are you seeing? What are you hearing about potential for, I think the big underlying question is, will there be a precedent set on a potential, like a worker coming to work? Oh, I got sick from COVID. What do you think's going to happen with that?
Oh, absolutely. It's already in place. We passed, the governor passed new law, which basically said for the frontline workers, for example, the grocery store workers, delivery drivers, people who are dealing with people face to face, person to person, more often than the regular citizens, if they have any symptoms whatsoever, I could force their employer to get a test done on the employer's dime, which I've done. And if it comes back positive, that is a workers' comp case. And I have a couple of them. So,
wow. Okay.
And I was happy to see it work so efficiently. And I've even had 3 or so that my client was concerned that they had the COVID. The employer quickly paid for the test and came back negative, and then poof, there's no COVID test or case there because it came back negative. But I was very impressed for a new law.
Yeah,
it really is working very smoothly. So I commend the governor for that.
So that's a law that's protecting the employee. The employer is going to be considered at fault, or is it just a system? Yeah,
great point. Because in workers' comp, see, every state's different, but in Florida workers' comp, it's a no fault statute.
Okay.
So I never ever have to prove fault.
Okay.
In workers' comp, all I have to prove is the person was working and they got injured in the course and scope of their employment.
Okay.
So in this particular case, what they made an exception, why it's good is, normally for an exposure type case, like here, you're exposed to the virus. Those are almost impossible under normal circumstances, except for this new law. Like, for example, if you had a case where it's a mold exposure, I have to be able to tell the quantitative amount of the exposure at the time when they were exposed, which sometimes is even impossible.
Wow.
And then the quantitative amount in the body, which has to match what they were exposed to. So it involves a lot of testing, both at the work site and on the body. Those are very difficult cases. So they made it much easier. They lowered the standard for COVID. They said, hey, listen, if you're a frontline worker and you have COVID symptoms, your employer has to send you for that test on their dime. And if it comes back positive, boom, that's a COVID test or a COVID case. And then they're responsible to treat you. And what's interesting about that is even if they recover and they no longer have it, because we don't know what the long-term effects are. Yeah. I'm keeping those cases. I mean, I'm keeping them going until they settle. Right. Who knows what, it could be something 5 years from now that could come from that. We don't really know. Yeah. It's so new.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. You think about all the different ramifications and how this might play out. Especially if it's an older worker and they pass away.
Right. That hasn't happened to me specifically yet, but that could absolutely happen. Yeah. And then that brings into death benefits in Florida, in my opinion, are absolutely terrible.
Really?
It's $150,000. They give you a certain amount for the, and that's for the spouse.
If it's at the job site, then? Yep. So the employer would pay the $150,000 or
their carrier. Their carrier. Yep. Which, it sounds like a decent amount, but really, we're talking about death. That's not, Yeah. I've had a couple of those over my career. It's tough. Yeah. And then, they pay for the funeral up to a certain amount, and then that's it. That's all you get. So that's very tough. Where there's other states that have much better laws, like up north. I just have friends that do, up in Pennsylvania. I've got a guy who does workers' comp. They have union presence up there that fight for the workers a little bit harder than down here.
Right.
So the laws are a little bit more friendlier to the workers' comp employees, to the injured workers.
Yeah.
I heard Florida and Texas are the toughest for injured workers.
So they protect more on their free business side.
Correct.
Free on the business side.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't have it any other way, because I like fighting for the underdogs. So that's fine by me.
There you go. So you consider your clients in a lot of cases underdogs?
Oh, yeah. In workers' comp, absolutely. Because, like, for example, you get hurt at work, they pick all your doctors. There's one exception. If you ask for a one-time change and you put it in writing and they don't get to it within 5 days, that's the only way you get to pick a doctor where you can force that. Other than that, if they don't mess that up and let the 5 days come and go, they're picking all your doctors, and let me tell you, they have doctors that they're their go-to doctors,
and they're going to side on their side. Right?
Yeah,
they're going to give you the minimized.
They'll downplay injuries. I hate to say it. I hate to be so blunt about it. But, oh yeah, it is. And boy, some of us we go at it. A couple of them around here, but
it's kind of similar to these agreements you sign. Sometimes we're talking with attorney Jason Kobal here, Kobal Law, on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Kobal Law is the website as well. KobalLaw.net, right? On the
KobalLaw.net, yep, or TampaWorkCompLaw.com.
TampaWorkCompLaw.com.
Yep.
Now, Jason Kobal, when you look at where I was going there is sometimes when you sign these contracts, if you're a business owner, you're signing up with an internet provider or a cable, for your home or all these different things. But when you sign that agreement that says arbitration, your mandatory arbitration, who has the ongoing relationship with the arbitrators in a lot of cases is the big business.
Exactly. And it's rigged. Those are terrible.
Stacked against you as a small business.
A lot of times, you might be better trying to get out of the contract than even going forward with that because it's stacked that much against you. It's tough.
And then you have to fly to Washington, D.C. or Virginia.
It could be in a jurisdiction totally inconvenient. Yep, absolutely. So
that makes it very difficult for the small business owner to win.
Yep. And, and then at that time, they're like, oh, hey, you signed it. Well,
exactly.
It's easy to say that now,
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's tough. Yep.
Yeah, because they'll probably refuse service to you if you say, no, I actually want that to be Hillsborough County, Florida.
No way. Yeah.
They wouldn't.
They're not doing any favors when you signed on the dotted line.
Exactly. Yeah. Why would we make an exception for you?
That's it.
All right. Good stuff. So when we come back, more from attorney Jason Kobal. I think we're going to have Fred Muth back on the line as well for top tips from him in our lightning round. Plus our feel good story of the day. Teacher transforms desk into socially distanced trucks. Find out about this teacher making the classroom fun. Creative teacher here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Warwick Dunn, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
All right, welcome back. We greatly appreciate you hanging out with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, spending some time with us and supporting our local area partners, our expert contributors on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We greatly appreciate that. We're also hiring for our real estate business right now. We're experiencing an uptick in calls, an uptick in leads. So we'd love to talk to any real estate agents looking to join a top-notch team. We're ranked in the top 1% of all real estate companies in Tampa Bay. So we would love to talk to you. We also feature our listings here on the show. 520 George Street South in Tarpon Springs, an example of that. We've got a hot listing right on Lake Tarpon. This has a private boat dock, wide open water views, and a mother-in-law suite, aka apartment, that you could rent out. Bring your boat, your jet skis, your stand-up paddle boards, fish from your own dock. Great opportunity to own real estate right on Lake Tarpon, one of the largest lakes in Central Florida. Check out all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. And we're giving a shout out to the Bilmar Beach Resort, the official hotel partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. The beautiful Bilmar Beach Resort on Treasure Island, Florida. They've also got Sloppy Joe's Beach Bar and Restaurant, 2 pools on site, and just a great time to be had at the Bilmar Beach Resort on Treasure Island. Make sure you give Clyde Smith a call directly. Let him know the real estate quarterback sent you, and book directly and let him know the real estate quarterback sent you. Take him up on special offers and incentives just by mentioning that you're a fan of the Consumer Quarterback Show.
Tell me something good.
All right, our feel-good story of the day is about this awesome creative teacher out in Texas. A kindergarten teacher in Texas went above and beyond to make her classroom a fun and safe environment for her students amidst social distance guidelines. When Jennifer Birch Pearson learned the desks would have plastic shields, she transformed each one into a miniature truck. Quote, she set up her classroom desk to look like a bunch of trucks on the road. She even makes the required desk shields look like windshields. And those students who enter the classroom may have a tough time, but clearly they are in for a hands of a caring teacher, and that's something that all parents can be grateful for. Thank you to our teachers who, like Miss Pearson, are doing all they can and more to make our kids feel safe and happy. And that is a cool teacher. I like that. That's awesome, Jason.
Oh, I love that. That's great, especially because she's preparing for in-person class, too. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
really cool to see.
Get them in the school.
Yep.
You know, it's not going to affect the kids, and it's a great story. I love those feel-good stories of the day. The one yesterday was about Tim Tebow, or last week we had one about Tim Tebow stepping it up against, this recent, you're hearing a lot more about pedophiles and trafficking, just ridiculous stuff going on. We also have Fred Muth back on the show as well. Fred, you there, my friend?
I certainly am. I heard that story, and I'm thinking now most of them kids will end up being truck drivers for UPS or something, really making a good living.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity out there for them. Delivery services as well, maybe USPS, who knows. But, so we got attorney Jason Kobal in studio, Fred Muth, Tampa Screens and Aluminum, on the phones, and I want to go back to Jason here because, Jason, we were talking a little bit earlier about fiduciary capacity. It's important to know and to be honest with your attorney, especially when you're talking about a work comp or personal injury lawsuit.
Yes. I recently had a very large civil case, a personal injury case. And, over 20 years now, every so often, every client, I say, listen, you got to tell us everything. We're on the same team here. We got to know your history. You're never going to be able to get one over on the insurance company and be able to hide an injury that you've had. It's just, they have just way too many resources, index traces. They have the ways by the end of the case, by the time, if you want to get real money, by the time that gets offered, they're going to know every injury you had in the past. So it's best just to be honest with your attorney about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of those situations where wasn't exactly honest, and of course it popped up, and
you
then
didn't see it coming, so it caught you off guard.
Well,
right?
you know, you're always looking that as a possibility because you know that it happens, but then it's all of a sudden the situation changes. You
can't help 'em.
Yeah, you know that you could help them, but it's a lot different. You know, so you have to deal with it. So it would have been better if that was known up front. So always be honest, because you're not going to be able to if they have that thought in your head like, oh, I'll be able to sneak this by. No,
at least these days, you know, it's almost like you're a political candidate, and they're gonna, you know, the other side's gonna search everything about you.
That's absolutely right. Yep.
Yeah, they're gonna find it out. They're gonna see what they're doing. They're gonna research you. So Jason Kobal here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, KobalLaw.net, KOBAL law.net, and TampaWorkCompLaw.com, and personal injury law, workers' compensation, fair debt, helping people in those areas mainly.
Yep. I tell you what, I have another little interesting thing that happened. I just remembered I wanted to mention. How about this? I have an associate who's also my nephew who already graduated law school, and he was ready to take the bar exam. And it's always 2 days. They changed it to 1 day by Zoom. And I was like, whoa, by Zoom? You have bathroom breaks? Something, you know, like, how are they going to monitor this? Usually they have police walking around. Within, I think it was 24 hours before test day, they had a malfunction with the Zoom or the setup, and they canceled it.
Oh, wow.
That's terrible.
That's frustrating.
Yeah.
You're cramming, you're ready to go.
Yeah, I feel bad. So for all of you out there that had went through that, that's unfortunate. So, well, they'll pass it the next time. But that's tough. So this virus, man, it's getting everybody.
Implications all over the place.
Yep.
And, you know, you got the uproar now about mail-in voting versus absentee voting. What's the deal there? What does that even... I talked to the supervisor in Pinellas County. I talked to them, and they said, oh, no, they got barcodes on them. And I think we're good here in Florida, but I think some states, you got to be more careful.
Well, there's a difference. See, that, you know, and the media's, I don't know if it's intentional, but they're not always clear about it. There's, like in Florida, every state's different, but there's always absentee voting. Like my wife, she happens to like to vote that way. It's easy. You fill out a form. You go online 2 seconds, and then you just get it in by a certain date. No problem.
Yep.
But what's different is, for example, in New Jersey, they're sending the voting rolls, which are known to have mistakes. There are dead people on there.
Okay.
There's everybody
so
on the mass mailing of applications to everybody on the voting rolls, and then having them submitted. That's like doing it completely different, like we've never done before. That's not absentee. So there is a difference.
Yeah.
And the media will be like, well, there's no difference between absentee and mass voting because it's still mailing in no, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Because usually in a normal election, we'll get maybe about 13 to 15% is mail-in.
Yeah.
And now they're talking like 60%. Well, that's totally different.
Right.
I don't think that's something we should rush into.
So it's going to be over. Yeah. And I got that mailer that said, you know, call in. You can call. You can go online. You can do it. I had a quick conversation with the lady. She verified who I was with my mailing address. I'm sure I was in the system at some point. So then, I can get it. It seems. I even asked her a question. I said, what's all this uproar about? And I said, aren't there, when these ballots come in, aren't there both Republicans and Democrats there to kind of look and see and monitor? And if anything out of the ordinary, you know, they would kind of say, hey, look at what he did. You know, you'd think she said, yeah, it's totally good. It's all good down here in Florida.
Yep.
But I can see where that could be a problem in the other states.
Correct.
So,
yep.
All right. So we got attorney Jason Kobal in the house. Fred Muth, Tampa Screens and Aluminum. Let's go back to you, Fred. What else are you seeing out there, man?
Well, the permitting process has really been very difficult for all contractors. Homeowners are very impatient with it, and I don't blame them. I'm a homeowner myself. What I did learn this morning, actually, Hillsborough County is in a transition process to an entire online system. But the growing pain is there right now because that transition process is really creating problems with permits that are already in. We're not getting response as quick as we'd like to because it's in the middle of this transition. And I can speak firsthand because I'm attempting to build this structure at the rear of the property of my house, and I'm trying to get permit information. And I'm in the business. You think it would be easy, but no, it's taking a long time to get the correct information that I need. So I understand that it really is a tremendous problem right now. So we're assuming that this entire problem is going to go away once this transition takes place. I hope it does.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things happening in these next 73 days. It's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. And, you know, with the pandemic, you know, it's a challenge for a lot of people. I think now more than ever, we've got to, you know, work together as businesses to collaborate, try to help each other out. And as citizens, you know, simple things, wearing the mask, don't complain, don't, get upset with somebody because they tell you to put the mask on. It just seems like common sense could help prevail in a lot of these situations, Fred.
Sure. I think the common cold is soon going to be a thing of the past with the fact that we're all wearing masks. The common cold and the flu.
Yeah. Hey, it could be. It's interesting to see, so we'll keep rocking and rolling here in Tampa Bay. Lots of good things happening around here. Let's go parting words of wisdom back here in studio. Jason Kobal, parting words.
Well, just going along what you were just saying there, you got to go with the flow, and it looks like finally, I'm far from an epidemiologist or whatever, but it looks like the cases are starting to go down a little bit. I know that Florida was a big hot spot everybody was concerned with, but I'm very proud of the way we kind of got it under control and things are looking promising. So we just got to keep going with the flow. And, thinking outside the box sometimes, and you might have to do something a little differently, but, we just got to stick it out, and I think we'll be all right.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. All right, Fred, back to you, my friend.
Yeah, well, my hat goes off to Jason based on that statement. You stole my thunder on that one. And I got to come up with something new now. Realistically, we are a very intelligent society. And if we compare where we are today as to 100 years ago with the Spanish flu went on for a little over 2 years. And I think that we're smart enough now where we can beat this thing and reduce that time frame. And I'm hoping that this thing goes away within the next 6 months.
Absolutely. All right, good stuff. Hey, another great show. I want to thank all of our expert contributors, Fred Muth, Kevin Overstreet, attorney Jason Kobal. Great show today. Thanks to all of our team out there, our listeners, our viewers. We really appreciate you supporting our show partners. Reach out to the hotline, 813-750-0550. Anything you heard today, we'll put you in touch with our expert contributors, 813-750-0550. And we want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Do something kind for one another and be a force for good in the community. Follow us online at Brandon Rhymes1 on Instagram and Twitter, Brandon Rhymes PA, as well as on Facebook at Consumer Quarterback Show. And we'll see you next time, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Contact Brandon Rhymes at 813-670-7372. That's 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time